Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Xbox Casuals, the Xbox podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the 1 week later, Josh Finney.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm so sorry that we had to skip a week, guys. So this is like kind of out of sync, but the holidays will let us get back in sync.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It actually works out better this way because now we'll be able to do a show right after the Game Awards.
Yeah.
So
really, you're welcome, everybody.
Yeah, if you do not listen to Tower Casuals, I was pathetically sick last week. I was going to try to push through on Monday, but I was just going further and further downhill. I was getting better in terms of... Well, I was getting better in terms of my health, and then my voice just disappeared. And I had this horrible smoker's cough that I'm still I've got bronchitis or something. My cough is still bothering me in the mornings. It's been a very rough couple of days. But I'm ready. I'm excited.
Ready for some Xbox. This is good. This is a beefy show, Josh.
Oh god, it's such a beefy show.
It's a beefy one. Are you playing anything before we dive into all this news?
I am. I'm playing Hi-Fi Rush.
Ooh.
Nice. I finally got around to it. The game that multiple people have described as being made specifically for me and my love of Jet Grind Radio. I never quite got to it. It came out at a pretty busy time for me earlier in the year, and then I just never circled back with the massive amount of games we had and the long games we had this year. So finally playing it, I'm trying to play a stage each evening to get through it. Hopefully finish it this weekend. So really, really digging it. It helps that half of the licensed soundtrack is stuff that's already in my playlist and has been for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love tuning in and being like, oh yeah, I have these songs on my playlist. This is cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's a game I've been meaning to get back to. I played the first 3 levels and then I just I think Lightfall came out. So
yeah, this had the unfortunate timing of coming out right as Persona 4 Golden came out on Game Pass, and I was deep into Persona at the time. I had already played through Royale, really wanted to play Golden, and then I went on vacation, and I just never got back to it.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
Things kind of went downhill. Lightfall came out, and all the lovely things that happened with that. But that is what I've been playing. I've been playing that, and I've been playing some Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah, really? How is it?
Oh man, I'm gonna save it. We have a Call of Duty segment tonight. I'm gonna save it for that. It's it alternates between being a really fun time and playing a game with the graphical capabilities, with the amount of pop-ins and slowdowns that I have. Even on Series X, it feels like it's running like an N64 game at times.
Yeah.
I cannot exaggerate. It looks like a fucking Tim Burton stop action movie out there sometimes. It's that bad. It's been real rough the first couple days. I've got more to say when we get to it though, because I agree with all the reviews that I've read. I agree with a lot of the gripes that the community seems to have. And man, something's gonna have to be done about this franchise. Phil has his work cut out for him. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
What have you been playing?
Well, Josh, since we last recorded, I finished Spider-Man Remastered.
Okay.
I finished all of the DLC for Spider-Man Remastered.
Okay.
I finished Miles Morales, which is in my opinion, way better game.
Much better game. Yes.
I think it's the pacing for the most part.
I think it's the fact that it can be completed in 8 hours.
Yeah, I think I finished it in about 9, and I did some of the side stuff, but not everything.
We talked about that. We talked about this about a month or two ago, I guess. The quote from one of the ex Sony developers who was like, "We need more AAA games on the scale of Miles Morales and Uncharted: The Lost Legacy."
Yeah, I mean, I think it was wasn't it Sean Layden who said that?
Sean Layden was just saying that he's always been an advocate for smaller and cheaper AAA experiences.
Yeah.
I don't think it was him specifically who said it. It was somebody who used to work at Naughty Dog, though, I believe, who said it.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to misattribute it, so I'm not going to say who I think said it, but a former reviewer who now works in games was pretty much saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He's worked at a few Sony studios, so.
Yeah. I would love a Miles Morales Lost Legacy style. Like, if I could get a Lost Legacy style Uncharted every 2 years on that same engine with, just whatever. Oh,
I
please.
just think that like, and this is a topic for another day, so I don't want to go too far into it. But I do think it's a good topic for the slow months that we're gonna have. Um, Smaller does not mean bad.
Hmm.
Josh Sawyer was bringing this up in regards to the fucking Game Awards today. He was bringing it up in regards to the Game Awards when people were saying, because Pentiment just missed the cutoff last year, and then it doesn't even get remembered this year. And the debate was coming up: are Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, should they be considered indies? And he was like screaming. He was like, "No, it is not an indie game. We are not an indie developer. It is
Right.
a like it may not be AAA by your standards, but we are a AAA game dev. It is just a smaller project from a AAA dev.
Yeah.
That is what it is."
Yeah.
And I think that and that's one of the things we talked about that we like so much about what Xbox has done in recent years is let their teams make smaller games in addition to the big stuff. Like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
still making Avowed and the Outer Worlds 2 over there, but they've also shipped out Pentiment and Grounded at Obsidian.
Yeah. And
So
we were having this conversation the other day of like the rise and fall of AA games and how
yeah,
like those games just don't exist anymore. And like, for rare exception, like maybe we get a Darksiders sequel, or like I would even put Hi-Fi Rush in that space. But like it
yeah.
really seems like Microsoft is kind of leading us back into that space with these games.
I mean that was the argument I made about 2020, right? Like they didn't
Hmm.
have those AAA games, but they in that year they put out Ori and the Will of the Wisps, they put out Gears Tactics, they
Hmm.
put Flight Sim out, they put out Tell Me Why, they put out Battletoads,
Hmm.
and Minecraft Dungeons, and Grounded went into early access.
Hmm.
That is a plethora of AA level games.
Hmm.
And I think it's really important, especially for Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, to have those to fill out their portfolios. Microsoft's talked about these. They're not AAA experiences, but like Towerborn, for example, is coming, and Aura is coming next year, and Flight Sim 2024. Like those are supposed to slot in between the main courses, as Matt Booty describes it. Like
Hmm.
those are supposed to be like the bite size things, the appetizers that warm you up, or like the
Hmm.
desserts that follow the
Yeah.
Starfields and predate, Hellblade and Avowed. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to see what Microsoft does, especially as like it seems like Sony kind of has shifted away from that, which is a shame. Like that, yeah, we get the occasional Miles Morales or like Sackboy's Adventure or even like Astro's Playroom, but they shut down the studio that made Concrete Genie recently.
Oh, I know.
And they shuttered Japan studio. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh, well, some of these studios that could be making these smaller experiences for you, these in between experiences, are now closing. And that
Yeah.
puts some more undue pressure. We've covered extensively in other shows and other channels about the whole saga of The Last of Us Part 1 being made
Yeah.
for PS5, and how like that was supposed to be the support studio, and then Naughty Dog had to come in to do it and like completely shift their trajectory, and they're trying to get out factions and they're working on something else. And
Yeah.
it's just this whole thing, but like you can't sustain yourself just on these like 150 million dollar games.
Right. Yeah.
So like they may sell a lot, but are you actually getting revenue on those? Like those take so much to become profitable.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Let me tell you that like the year Halo Infinite came out, like it was so nice to like there was all these AAA games. Well, not a lot, but AAA games over the summer, and it was so nice to take a break from those and play Psychonauts 2 before Halo Infinite. you know.
yeah, and I mean there's been there's a lot of room for these AA experiences, and unfortunately Embracer ran around buying up a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
It didn't make it onto our sheet, but like Free Radical is the latest casualty over there.
Hmm.
They may be shut down right before Christmas.
Yeah.
Like legally they have they're basically 30 days to save the studio. And it's funny, it's like actually led to people who don't even like Xbox being like, yo, Xbox, do something good here, like we'd really like Time Splitters.
Yeah.
And like and I could see a scenario where like, okay, maybe they step in like publish it just to get it out the door. But man, Embracer bought up all of these AA studios, and then they're closing so many of them or just gutting them.
Right. I mean, Volition with Saints Row, right? I mean,
Volition, THQ Nordic, who that's like kind of a publishing arm, right? But like they make they make Darksiders games. They also
hmm.
own the studio that makes Metro.
Hmm.
They have Gearbox.
Yep. Which rumored over the summer that they were going to try to spin out because I mean, I think they probably have enough money to like buy
They're
this
one
stuff
of the
back.
very few teams that could afford to be on their own.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. The only reason why I think Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal are still open is because they're helping Microsoft work on games.
Yeah, Microsoft is funneling the money there. Like, they can't close them.
Yeah.
And I do think with them helping, like, Microsoft would step in at that point. Like, the FTC be damned, they would step in to save those studios.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not huge publishing arms. They're just, 1, 2 studio, 3 studio.
No, they don't self-publish. That's the thing. Like, they were under Square Enix. That was their publisher. So,
Yeah.
Well, should we just jump into it? We got a lot of news tonight.
Yeah. Let's jump into it. Well, there's been a switch up in the leadership over at Microsoft, Josh.
For the better.
And something I think we've been speculating for a long time as the next step. Sarah Bond has become president of Xbox, leading hardware and accessories and stuff like that. So, and then Matt Booty has been switched over to like president of not first party. It was I forget what the phrase they used, but president of game content studios and will oversee ZeniMax.
Yeah, so basically Sarah is over platform and services, and Matt Booty is over basically everything else first party, like the game development side. A couple of quick notes here. One, the restructuring under Matt Booty, I mean, this would have already happened, but them bringing Bethesda in explicitly under him is almost certainly in response to Redfall. And I think over a lot of the struggles that Starfield has gone through in its development. I would say that that's kind of a direct response there, because they're still letting the Bethesda CEO have limited power, but I think this is also why this may be part of why Pete Hines moved on. We speculated a few weeks ago about why he was leaving. This is also, he probably knew this was coming down the pipeline and was kind of told, he may have been told there's not really a place for you, or we don't want it to be like a public leadership struggle. Like, you're not going to be on the same level as Matt. You're just not, like, you're not a developer. Like, no offense, you're a marketing guy, basically. Like, you're already kind of in over your head. You can continue being the public face, or you can take your shares and cash out. And hey, after 25 years at the same company, I'd probably cash out too. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
So there's that. Matt Booty did say he's already gone around to a lot of, he's already been going around to studios. Of course, he's been traveling with Sarah and Phil. But he specifically has visited id and the Coalition on his own in the last couple of weeks to check on their progress. I wanted to read a little bit from the interview he did.
Yes, please.
He I don't remember who he did this interview. It was a podcast. I read like an aggregation of it. I'm gonna try and look it up while we're talking. I apologize. I'm trying to read off my phone and do this. Fourth Curtain is who he did it with. But he said he's recently spent time specifically with the Gears of War team, and recognizes that the franchise has horror elements in it, but ultimately the series is about brotherhood. So it's good. He understands like the core of what made the Gears trilogy so good. And like I don't think that 5 is bad necessarily, but like 4 really captured that well. I think like 4 the horror elements, at least I think 4 captured really well.
Yeah.
But I think like 4 and 5 have kind of faltered with this new trio in terms of the friendships. It's not Dom and Dom. Yeah, it's not Dom and
Marcus.
God. So I'm gonna be honest. I wanted to say Marcus, but I kept saying Dom, and then my mind was going to Dominic Toretto. No, Marcus, Dom, Cole, etc. Like it's not the same.
Yeah, and I think as much as I like the first 2 games in the new trilogy, I love them a lot, but I think the big mistake was switching protagonists between games, honestly. And I think like the first game should have been Kate and Dell, right? And then well, and they make JD just like completely unlikable in 5.
Yeah. Whereas, like, he's the focus of 4, and, I mean, like, also, like, the people just want Marcus back, let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, my tomatoes!
My tomatoes! He recognizes that Doom is rooted in mechanics and gameplay, and it's kind of like the purest you can get as an FPS. I think we can all agree it's that. Doom's the original FPS. And it keeps being like, when a new Doom comes out, that kind of sets the trend for what an FPS is going to be going forward. It used to be like Doom and Halo. Now it's just kind of Doom.
Yeah.
Doom is still innovating. Halo, not so much.
Yeah, Halo's focused on getting back to the roots of the franchise, whereas Doom is like, let's do something crazy.
Well, because every time that Halo tries to do something different, everybody revolts,
Yeah.
regardless of how good or bad it is. One of the main goals for Xbox Studios is to create diverse games lineup, from small games like Pentiment to games such as Starfield and everything in between, not just focusing on genres. This is a direct quote from his interview, and I think this is actually really, really great to hear a suit, quote unquote, say. Creativity at Xbox shouldn't just be a possibility, it should be an inevitability.
Mm-hmm.
This tracks with what we've heard him say for years, going back to when he first teased Clockwork Revolution from In Exile a couple of years ago. And he said that is now, we now know that's the game that was being referred to in last year's uh, piece with the Xbox heads that was done at the summer showcase.
Yeah.
That the head of In Exile said that I don't think that it was who we traditionally think of as the head. I'm completely blanking his name, but I think it was actually the director of Clockwork.
Mm-hmm.
Who said that yeah, Matt came in and we had this whole deck prepared, this whole slide deck prepared, and 30 seconds into our pitch, he goes, "Why are you trying to sell me on this? I want you to make this.
Yeah.
Like, if this is what you're passionate about, this is what you're going to make as your next game." And he's like, we've never had an experience like that. It's always been, okay, what do we need to do to keep the studio open? How are we have to do something that can like gain funding from certain parts of the web and this and that. And he's like, it was just such a unique experience to see that. And I think that speaks volumes for Brian Fargo is who I'm trying to think of. I'm so sorry. Brian Fargo has basically said like, yeah. And like Tim Schafer's backed that up. Josh Sawyer's backed that up. Fergus over at Obsidian has backed it up. Like, everyone has the same things to say about how Matt seems to run the studio. So if that's what's happening, I'm really glad that Bethesda's now under him.
Yeah.
Hopefully it avoids like a Wolfenstein Youngblood or a Redfall happening again. And then he had a couple other good quotes here. We have schedules and budgets and all these things, but ultimately it's about the pursuit of the craft of our studios and making sure the other stuff doesn't stand in the way. So it does really seem like they're valuing the creativity. Like, that would explain why they've given so long to Hellblade to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And like not just rushing out to like we've all seen like the behind the scenes videos, and I hope that they make a documentary one day about the making of this game, even like a 25-minute thing, because I'd be fascinated to see the process they've gone through for it.
Mm-hmm.
He talked a little bit about the first party schedule and name dropped Starfield, Forza, Ara, Towerborn, and Hellblade in that order. That probably gives you a hint as to what the release schedule looks like. Ara has had a recent hands-on. So that's probably like a January, February title if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Towerborn, I would say mid to late March, maybe. They maybe want to line that up with like spring breaks. And then that probably leaves Hellblade as like your big push into the summer, as like your end of April, beginning of May, like mid Q2 game. Kind of try and take like that like Tears of the Kingdom slot next year. Because they're going to want that game to stand alone. And right now, there's no Sony games coming out around that time. There's no big Nintendo push. That won't be until the fall with the new console. They've kind of got the open area to just drop Hellblade, and I think we're going to get a date on that at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And the last two things he said is that they're still aiming for 4 big games, first-party games per year, with other things in between. So that, your Towerborns and your Aras. And then a project a studio tackles next isn't necessarily about what we need, but what the studio is passionate about making. And I think that nothing is truer about that than, like we've used Obsidian as an example. Look at Playground, though. Playground is getting to make Fable, and they've only ever made Forza.
Yeah.
They basically built a brand new studio for it.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I wonder, I mean, I know we know some talent over there, but I wonder, like, I want to know what games they've worked on to make Fable, like the people they brought in.
From what I've seen, some of the people they brought in are some of the leads from Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. They've recruited some studio
Okay.
people from like Santa Monica, um,
So like
and
in about a year, it will experience some big patch with combat overhaul.
one of the
Which makes,
narrative designers for Baldur's Gate 3 recently joined Playground.
yeah, I did see that.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge to me.
Especially with a game that's based on your choices, like they
Yeah,
could like obviously like Fable 1, 2, and 3 like played with that a lot, but also limited by the hardware, right? But
right.
now you could really do something really interesting with that.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty excited for Matt being in charge of all that. But the more intriguing one definitely is, and the one that we definitely want to talk about is Sarah.
Mhm.
Sarah getting put in as the president now really allows her to shape what the next generation of Xbox is going to look like. Yeah, they've already got like preliminary ideas. We know that from the court filings. Those were just projections, you know, and those were a couple of years ago. Like there's 4.5 years to go before next generation is going to be a thing, at least. So she's got the time to say if they really do release in 2028, that's 5 years from now. She's got more than enough time to make her impact on consoles and on services. You know, what does Game Pass look like in 5 years? What does, you know, what does online play for Xbox look like in 5 years? What do you know, what are you going to use in terms of like, you know, multiplayer, you know, player protection, and how are you going to integrate BattleNet? Like these are challenges she now gets to tackle. And
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah, BattleNet's going to be really,
That's key. That's
yeah.
key. Battle.net has better player protection, I would say, than just about anything that Xbox has internally.
Yeah.
Warzone notwithstanding.
Yeah. So I mean, I wonder if they'll try to like move the Xbox app over to BattleNet and just call it like Xbox BattleNet or something.
I would suspect that that's going to be one of Jason Ronald's biggest tasks going forward.
Yeah.
Is going to be working with Sarah. I mean, because he's basically, you know, one of the main services guy. You know, he of course led the backwards compatibility team and the upres team and stuff. So I suspect he'll probably have a hand in this. They're probably going to keep the chief engineers from BattleNet on board. Um,
I would.
I would, yeah, assuming they haven't done anything, you know, sexually inappropriate. Um,
That we know
you know,
of.
keep them on and kind of go crazy. Like you have plenty of time. But I think it's also telling that Phil is no longer the president. He is stepping fully into that CEO role. So he's still over everything, but Sarah and Matt are definitely handling like all of the day to day. He is still big picture, but he's more of having to report to the board and whatnot. He is
Yeah.
accountable to them instead of trying to do that and still run platform and services.
Right.
So this kind of frees his plate and also kind of sets it up for what you and I have thought for a long time, that when Phil steps down, Sarah will take his position.
Yeah. I think it's 100% now. I
Yeah.
bet it's like 99% now.
I would say that I would not be surprised if she has Phil's position by maybe a year into the next generation.
Yeah, I think
Because we
Phil's
got to
going to.
remember, Phil has been there since before Xbox was a thing.
Well, he was an Excel engineer or something.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Which is hilarious.
It's hilarious to see his journey, but you know, he's never left. He's always been there. But you know, as we saw with Reggie, you know, time eventually comes for you in this job. You just get burned out and exhausted. And I mean, this is a dude who had to drag the platform back from the brink. I mean, he's the last 10 years, you can't, since he hasn't been president for 10 years. He was it for about 7 or 8 probably.
Yeah.
But since he replaced Phil Harrison and Don Matrick, Phil has basically had to be on the offensive. And, you know, yeah, he's had to play some defense, but he's had to take some wild swings. And he took them from, you know, in 2017, they had 5 studios
Yeah.
to the juggernaut that they have now. That alone, I think, is commendable and is probably why he's relinquishing the president role now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it makes him look way less aggressive when they try to go acquire things in the future.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy for Sarah. I'm happy for uh, the rest of the team. I think
Yeah.
this is a big step, and I really look forward to the future. Right. I mean,
Well, and all the praise that's been heaped on Sarah in recent months by the
Hmm.
leadership team and by Satya Nadella himself,
Yeah.
saying that, basically the Ubisoft Plus deal for the cloud streaming with Activision doesn't get done without Sarah.
Yeah.
The Activision deal doesn't close without her. Bringing Square back to the table with Final Fantasy 14, Atlas, RGG, like a lot of their third party partnerships are because of her. Now you're
Hmm.
going to take her and put her in charge of the platform. That has got to reassure some of these other studios.
Right.
They're like, oh, our partnerships aren't for nothing. Yeah, we want to work with Phil, but like, oh, they're sending Sarah to talk to us.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And now she's running the show. We can go to her with concerns that we have and like about the platform or about, Game Pass or something like that.
Yeah. Big deal.
Big deal. Very big deal. Very, very well deserved.
Yeah.
We don't like to be corporate praisers here, but man, that two really good moves right there. And that does beg the question, who the hell is replacing Bobby Kotick? Because I think we all thought it was Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be either Mike Ibarra or Rod, right? I mean, I would assume one of
Yeah.
them.
I
I would
like it.
assume Rod, actually.
I think it's really funny that you just brought up Mike Ybarra because we're about to talk a lot of Blizzard because BlizzCon just happened. Um, Jason Schreier had a piece that posted after BlizzCon,
Oh boy.
talking about how, well, no, it was good things. Talking about how
Oh.
the sale finalized, and the Warcraft team in particular was trying to put together a slide deck of things that they're doing, upcoming products, this and that, like to tell Phil, tell Phil and Sarah and them, like, here's what we're doing, we're doing our best and this and that. And Phil showed up and was like, I have no interest in your presentation. I want to meet your people and play your games.
Hmm.
That's what I want to do. And they were like, he did that with everyone. He met with all the teams. He was grilling fucking hot dogs out in the courtyard.
Oh, I saw that.
Like him and Sarah and Matt were like, completely open with employees, and they're like, a lot of Blizzard employees say like the air already feels different around
Yeah.
there. Like people are hopeful again.
Yeah.
And Phil's been quoted as saying, like, and he's quoted in the story saying, we want Blizzard to go back to what they used to be.
Hmm.
And Mike Ybarra slides in at the very end of this, talking about, he's saying the same thing and this and that. And like, I worked Phil for a long time, so I've got a lot of hopes about this. But Jason notes that they have not yet had a conversation with him about what his future is at Blizzard.
I know.
And
Isn't he like the only person they haven't talked to?
essentially, like a lot of the communication I've seen has been like from Rod.
Yeah. Well,
It
also
really,
Rod used to be at Xbox. He was the producer or like the studio lead for the
he was the
Coalition
studio
for
head
4 and
of
5.
Coalition. Well, Ybarra used to have basically Jason Ronald's job, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a VP at Xbox.
Yeah.
So and he left to go run Blizzard. He left to go to Blizzard, and then everything happened about a year and a half after he got there. He gets promoted with Jen O'Neill. Jen O'Neill leaves because they won't match their pay and give them like equal titles and shit.
Yeah.
Which way to fumble the bag. You lost the head of Vicarious Visions. Way to go, guys. And he's like, yeah, we haven't had that conversation about my future yet. And I'm like, buddy, you might not be here in January. I really hate to tell you. Like, he basically said the only way he's leaving Blizzard is if they drag him out. And I'm like, done. Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. But no, in all seriousness, I do think that Mike probably will get moved to Activision. Because they're going to need somebody to specifically untangle Call of Duty. And I think that Rod basically came in and saved Diablo for him and Joe Shelley.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me to see Rod be promoted to be head of Blizzard, because Blizzard has to root out a lot of things, and Rod was not there when that shit was happening.
Yeah.
I would think that he comes in. He has experience resurrecting franchises, specifically shooters. I have a feeling that he would be able to go.
He got BioShock Infinite out the door.
He got BioShock Infinite out the door. He got Gears 4 and 5 out the door.
And Tactics.
In a pandemic. I suspect that he will probably be heads down working on Overwatch if this happens, and Joe Shelley will get his old job as the franchise director of Diablo. Which it could not be a better person at this point, I don't think.
Yeah.
Someone who's passionate about the franchise, who is very well respected at the studio too. He's young, he's respected. Um, very much like just a hey, I want to just get down to business, but is totally willing to talk to the community. He's been on all their live streams. He's taken, some of the fire about the patch notes and this and that. Like he's publicly come out and talked about stuff with the community managers. Like that's what you want in a game director, I think, especially of a live service game. So if he was franchise director, I think a lot of people would be reassured within the company also. Like, hey, we're rewarding you for not being a total piece of shit. Like we haven't felt the need to fire you or rename the Overwatch character named after you. I think that he'll be one of the ones going forward. If you don't know Joe Shelley's story, he was a designer on Diablo 3, was a lead on the expansion, and then got thrust into being the game director of Diablo 4 when Rod came on board. The two of them kind of were assigned to save the game after the debacle that happened with Luis Barraga and Jesse McCree getting fired, along with a handful of other senior designers at Blizzard. And I mean, that was your game director, that was your narrative director, your combat director, all got fired. Right. And these two basically had to come in and save the game at the 11th hour. It's a miracle that we got what we did.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, though, BlizzCon actually seemed like it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, well,
if you're a World of Warcraft fan, it was great. They pulled a Bungie. Here's the next 3 expansions, and here's the saga really and everything else.
Yeah, I was only looking at the Diablo stuff because it seemed interesting.
They announced 3 expansions for World of Warcraft.
Jeez.
On stage. Well, they recently got Chris Metzel recently came back.
Okay.
Over the summer, who was the co-creator of World of Warcraft. Oh. So that's huge. He is now the Rod Ferguson for Warcraft. He is taking over, overseeing the entire franchise. Another thing that piece kind of talked about was there's a lot of calls from fans and within Blizzard to make a new StarCraft. And Mike Ybarra was like, I don't know if it could ever be an RTS again. He's like, so many of the people who worked on StarCraft 2 are gone. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you have to cultivate a studio team specifically to do an RTS. But if there is anybody who can help do that, it's World's Edge.
Yeah, it's true.
World's Edge, granted, World's Edge oversees the teams that make things like Age of Empires.
Yeah.
But could you imagine if they could get some outside help, like maybe recruit from these studios that are closing down, or, even hey, could we pay some Paradox people?
I mean, Certain Affinity is laying off some people, or not Certain Affinity. Creative Assembly is laying off some people. Why don't you go grab some of them?
God, make Halo Wars 3 with Blizzard.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. They probably would never do that. I want Blizzard to go back to making original IP, and working on their own stuff. Their own stuff is so rich. But man, it seemed like it was a pretty solid event. It didn't seem like it was horrible. There was no controversy. Vessel of Hatred sounds awesome. That's the Diablo expansion. That's supposed to come out next fall. They said it'll have a full unveiling in the summer. So certainly that's going to be a highlight of the Xbox showcase in the summer.
New biome. That's
bro, we're very close to having to have 2 days for an Xbox show at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean,
dude, that's going to be like a 3-hour thing, 4-hour thing,
bro. You can't do that. You just can't do it.
It's going to be like a week-long event, like an Xbox game celebration, almost. Like
that actually would be kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I think you have so many things you can announce now that you have to decide oh, well, are we going to show something at Keeley's show at the Keeleys? Are we going to show something there? But you don't want to turf something like Diablo there because it's the first year you've owned it. And you're like, we get to reveal Diablo. We get to have Call of Duty on our stage. We get to have, we got to cover we maybe we have to talk about Hearthstone, but we got to save stuff for BlizzCon too. And
Crash Team Racing 2
about here? Oh my God, I hate you so much.
No, you don't.
So I have a list of the announcements that they did. The next 3 World of Warcraft expansions, and it's going to be called the World Soul Saga. Chris Metzen revealed it, who is the executive creator director of the franchise. This is the culmination of the first 20 years of World of Warcraft storytelling and will vector us into the next 20 years. There is an awful lot of stuff. They announced all sorts of new zones, new activities, community features, etc., which sounds really, really cool. These are going to be called... oh my god, where are the names? The War Within is going to be the first expansion. It comes out next year. Midnight is the second one. It'll take place in Azeroth's old world. And the third expansion is The Last Titan. Ooh. So, which is set in Northrend, which is the setting of the classic expansion, Wrath of the Lich King. So that's got a lot of people. I have a lot of friends who grew up playing World of Warcraft. They're very excited and trying to figure out how on earth are we going to play this now that we have children and careers.
Just quit. It'll be fine.
World of Warcraft Classic is adding Cataclysm.
Are they just going to run that like all the way up to current stuff at some point?
I mean, that's the question that I think a lot of us have. We're like, who is this for? Overwatch 2 got a new hero announced. Hearthstone got a new expansion announced. A Diablo tabletop RPG. This actually sounds like really cool. I'm really stoked.
When I saw that, I immediately thought Josh is stoked for this.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Diablo 4 is the expansion, is the inspiration. I'm very excited. And then Phil was there, of course. Phil was there. He was talking about the games and about Blizzard's history and whatnot. Warcraft Rumble launched. That was like kind of the one more thing, which kind of a lame thing to end on, but BlizzCon this year very much felt like, we're trying to get back to basics. Uh-huh. I had predicted that we would hear about StarCraft. We did not. But overall, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. And I think shows like BlizzCon and QuakeCon are going to be pretty important going forward as the publishing arms of Xbox are so fucking huge now.
Yeah. Let's see that. What they have Xbox, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, King, I guess those are the publishing
King. I don't think we really have to worry about showing up at the Xbox Games Showcase. That's the stuff that Keighley can have essentially. But like with Blizzard, you got to strike the fine line of, well, what do we let them save for BlizzCon, and what do we want to announce on our stage? Do we want to do the deep dives on our stage, or the deep dives? Do we announce things at ours and do deep dives at BlizzCon? Like it's kind of this give and take. Like I think like things like World of Warcraft will continue to be primarily shown there and on their own streams, similar to how ESO is. ESO gets like a 90-second trailer to remind you that it's still here.
Yeah.
But there's no way they're not going to tout this as like a Game Pass thing next summer, right?
Yeah.
But like the Diablo expansion, like that's the thing, like because that's so huge for console players. Diablo is like, oh, let's talk about this, and let's talk about like any potential perks you might get as being a Game Pass sub and this and that. That there's a lot of cool stuff there, and even Warcraft, Rumble, and Hearthstone. Those are going to be two of the first like real Xbox mobile games that they have.
Right.
So, all in all, like it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean. It can never be as bad as the Diablo Immortal reveal.
Don't you guys have phones? Which I still maintain. I don't think mobile Diablo is a bad idea. It was a bad idea to do with NetEase.
It's also a bad thing to do when that's the only game you're kind of showing off.
I mean, yeah, I'm a very easy to please person, I think. So I see mobile Diablo, I get excited. That being said, I will not play Immortal.
Oh man! All right, Josh, we're gonna move on unless you have anything else you want to say about.
No. We've got two more real big stories that we got to get through.
Yeah. All right. Our next story: the Game Awards nominees were announced.
Christ!
I don't think this list is a huge surprise of Game of the Year, at least.
It's not. You want to go through some of these categories?
Yeah, where do we you want to start with best esports coach?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I want to start at the top. I want to start with Game of the Year. This is a year that Corey and I have both been pretty clear about. Like, whatever 5 or 6 nominees you come up with, it probably isn't wrong.
Yeah, because
there's so many good games this year. Like, I've said in the past, like you could probably make a list of 25, 30 games that would be worthy of being on that list. That in any other year would be serious contenders. That being said, I find myself disagreeing with this list.
Yeah, so my two that I have a big question mark for. Now, granted, I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet, but that's one just based off what I've played of like the
Yeah.
last few weeks. And then Resident Evil 4 is a remake. It was good. I don't think it was great. I would have put probably Diablo and Star Wars on here, in my opinion.
So yeah, I think that the three no brainers are Baldur's Gate, Zelda, and Alan Wake. Those are the three no brainers to me. Alan Wake has gotten so much praise. Super Mario Brothers Wonder is another one that I'm pretty sure like should just be a lock on this list. I haven't played it yet, but everybody I've talked to says it's the best side-scrolling Mario since Super Mario Land. So take that for what it's worth.
You mean Super Mario World?
World, Land, same fucking thing.
It's not.
Oh my god, I hate you guys. I hate fucking Nintendo fans.
I'm just saying, do you want to run through a colorful
I hate Nintendo
world?
Fans.
Do you want to run through a colorful world, or do you want to run through Egypt and jump on the Sphinx?
Oh my fucking god, I don't care. Is it fun?
No.
Oh my god.
Mario Land is not fun.
Oh, fucking Nintendo fans. Okay, so it's the best in Super Mario World. Sorry, I got Corey tilted over here. Ed's gonna come hunt me down now.
He is. I mean,
God.
side tangent.
Yeah,
you know he's not excited for the Zelda movie.
That's actually shocking to me. That's genuinely shocking. I thought that he'd think that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm glad that he's as pessimistic as I am. Spider-Man 2, I could go either way on. I do. It makes my personal top 5, but I would completely understand if it wasn't here. Resident Evil 4 was the one that I was just scratching my head. I came up with 4 other games that I think should be on it over this. My point is, I understand that this is an amazing remake. This sets a gold standard for remakes. I get that. This is a game that when it came out in 2005, it came out January 11th, 2005. We had Game of the Year 11 days into the year. It was literally decided then. I remember reading the Game Informer review where Andy McNamara is like, hey, I don't think anything's beating this year. I'm going to be completely honest. This is like one of the greatest games of all time. This is a perfect 10 out of 10. This is a GameCube exclusive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It has continued to be...
I still have my copy that says only on GameCube.
It has continued to be a timeless classic on every single platform it's released on. This game has had as many releases as Skyrim, if not more at this point.
Yeah.
It was perfect then. It's been perfect on every platform since. Why does it need to be nominated here? That's my qualm with it. Not that it's not an amazing experience. I don't understand why this needs to be here.
Yeah.
I would have put Jedi Survivor. I would have put Final Fantasy 16. I probably wouldn't have put Diablo. As much as I personally like Diablo, I don't think I can make the case for it being there over those two. I would also argue that Starfield belongs on here over this game. That's going to get me some hate mail. I liked Starfield that much, but if it really came down to this and I had a vote, Phantom Liberty should 100% be on this slot.
I mean, wasn't one of the Witcher expansions on this list at one point? Yeah.
Yes, it actually won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
It should. I think Phantom Liberty should be on here. I mean, it's nominated for Best Narrative. Why can't it be nominated for Game of the Year? That would be my argument. Is that just I think that there's a handful of games that are much more deserving. I've seen people argue Pikmin 4 should be on here over it. Sea of Stars, Cocoon. You can come up with any number of titles.
I am shocked that Starfield's not on here simply because there's no Xbox representation on here, and they are usually pretty good at that unless there's nothing there.
I mean, we have to keep in mind this is from 120 different outlets.
Yeah,
outlets, content creators, podcasts, etc. Starfield was such a divisive game that like even if you had some outlets voting for it, even within the outlets, I'm sure it was divisive. Like, at IGN, you had a couple people who were like, "Oh my god, this is an awesome game." And then you had people like Dan who were like, "It's a 7.5."
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to get the Game of the Year nomination at that point or get onto the short list of 6 games.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about Final Fantasy 16. Also, that game was very divisive.
Man,
people who
16
loved it.
is so good, and it falls apart in the third act. It falls apart so bad.
Yeah. Well, most Final Fantasy games.
I'm actually shocked that it's not on this list. I frankly thought it was going to be a shoo-in for that final slot. I did have a friend who correctly guessed this entire list like a month ago, which kudos to him. Best game direction. Alan Wake, Baldur's Gate, Spider-Man 2, Mario Wonder, Zelda. It's very common that these 5 are nominated for most of the same awards.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating.
Well, to me, it's
Um,
like, okay, well, the game that doesn't get Game of the Year is the other games are gonna win these awards at some point.
you would hope so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as direction, I mean, again, I don't think you can argue with Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, Zelda. I can't speak to Mario. I would personally argue with Spider-Man on this one. I personally was of the opinion that this is where Final Fantasy 16 should be in here. For the icon sequences alone, it should have made this.
Yeah.
That I don't even know how you begin to come up with that and storyboard that. You're a fucking madman to do that. Narrative. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, and Phantom Liberty. This is the Baldur's Gate 3 award. I'm just gonna say it. Baldur's Gate and Alan Wake are gonna duke it out for this one. Like I really think a lot of the awards come down to those two fighting. I would personally, I like Spider-Man 2 story. I would put Jedi Survivor here over it though. Even though I've heard Spider-Man 2 is arguably the best comic book game of all time. Jedi Survivor is the second best Star Wars game ever made. And Cal Kestis is a better character than Yuri Lewinthal's Spider-Man, but
man, Jedi Survivor's story was so good, man.
It's so fucking good, dude. Cal and Marin, God, I love my goth girl.
Just make some alien.
Bode's story, you know, of course, BD is there. You've got Grax. Oh God, it's such a Ser. Like, it's such a fucking. This is how you do a sequel. And they did it in 3.5 years.
I know. It's so good, man. I actually really like the hub world thing too, where like, you know,
I didn't mind it.
You know, you kind of go back and do, you know, I appreciated like the quote unquote smaller scale of this game, even though it was like huge. But you know,
oh my God,
like,
it's fucking huge.
I mean, like the 3 or 4 places you actually go until the end.
They made it so much easier to backtrack in this game too.
Yes.
Thank God.
Thank God for fast travel.
Best art direction. Alan Wake, Zelda.
That Zelda will win that, I bet.
So here's the other nominees though. Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Lies of P, Hi-Fi Rush.
Oh, Hi-Fi Rush could win.
God, I really hope that Hi-Fi Rush pulls this one out.
Yeah, this sounds like an easy win for Hi-Fi Rush just because it's probably not going to win anything else.
I think it's so creative that I don't think you're like, oh, well, you're forced to give it here, but it's really hard for me to not see it winning. But then again, best score in music. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, The Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush. That is going to be the most interesting category because I genuinely I don't think any of them deserve to lose. I literally think in any other year, every one of these would be a winner if they didn't have the same competition.
Yeah. It's a big year.
That is incredibly hard.
That just tells you how big of a year for games this is.
Audio design. I'm going to go through a couple more. Audio design. This is another really hard one for me. I've seen clips of Alan Wake. I've not started Alan Wake yet. I'm hoping Thanksgiving I'm starting it. Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. This feels like the Hi-Fi Rush award, honestly, if nothing else. I have a really hard time seeing how a game that's built around playing to the beat doesn't get audio design. That's just me. But, I mean, again, I think Alan Wake, Dead Space, RE4, like any of those could take. I think the only one that doesn't get it is Spider-Man. That just, again, it's like, okay. And then there's I want to hit 3 more if you'll indulge me.
Yep, let's do it.
Best performance. I think this highlights the need for us to have a best supporting performance category next year. Because, yeah, all of these performances are really good, but there were other performances that were also amazing that can't be recognized, that were like the secondary roles in their games. Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16, he's the voice of Clive. Cameron Monaghan for Jedi Survivor, my personal pick. Idris Elba as Solomon Reed for
that's a good pick too,
Cyberpunk.
though.
It's a fucking great pick. Melanie Lubard for Alan Wake 2. Neil Newbon, Baldur's Gate 3, and Yuri Lowenthal for Spider-Man 2. I literally don't think you can pick a wrong choice here.
Yeah.
Again, all 6 are amazing. Neil Newbon has already won. He won the Golden Joystick a couple days ago for his role in Baldur's Gate 3. Yuri Lowenthal, of course, is a fan favorite as Spider-Man. Ben Starr has been just a social media sensation since 16 came out. But man, and it's a real shame because I don't think he's going to win it here. Cameron Monaghan got hoed in 2019 when they didn't consider Jedi Fallen Order for the awards that year. And Jeff was like, oh, well, it's up for nomination in 2020. Everyone had forgotten that it didn't get nominated.
Right.
We saw the same thing with Pentiment this year. So Cameron Monaghan got completely screwed the last time around.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling he's going to get screwed here too. He's my personal pick. He not only does that, he not only does the voice acting, he does the mocap, and he gave input on his story and where he wanted Cal to go and everything else. Like, that game does not work without Cameron Monaghan. Without his performance is so fucking good. He's he's probably like a top 3 or 4 performer in Star Wars right now, in my opinion.
I mean, that whole cast is good. Deborah Wilson is good in there.
And this is why I'm saying we need a supporting actor category.
Yeah.
Because, if you had one, then I think last year, Deborah Wilson is Savathun.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I could also see Idris getting this just because of the name.
Yeah. Is
Idris Elba even going to be there for this?
I don't know. I mean, I assume so, right? I mean,
I assume he's going to be there, but I have to ask that question since he's not just like a star talent. He's a superstar. But I think also at the same time, as much as I enjoy his performance, I don't want Idris to win this because I think it's important that we honor the people who are primarily doing game acting.
Yeah.
That's why I understand that's probably the hesitation with Cameron Monaghan also. But man.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't Yuri Rose what's his face do Spider-Man and the TV shows and stuff too?
Yeah, but I mean that's still voice acting and stuff. Yeah. I'm talking actual real acting.
Yeah.
Well, okay, voice acting is real acting, actual on-screen acting.
Yeah.
Physical acting. I want to be really clear here. Also, Ben Starr is fucking great. I love following him on Twitter.
Real people acting.
Oh my god. I wanted to bring up best community support because this was the one that got a lot of attention today, and not for a great reason. So you have Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14. This is the Final Fantasy 14 award, by the way. Cyberpunk 2077, No Man's Sky, and Destiny 2. A lot of us noted the dramatic irony of Destiny 2 getting nominated here after they laid off most of their community and social teams just about 2 weeks ago today. I think that Liana had a really great take on this, though. Basically, she was like, it's fine to be mad, but we should still be celebrating the people who are there. That they, we worked our asses off. This is ours. So she says, personal feelings aside, as a team that asks for more people, not less, I will say Cosmo, Bruno, Ivan, and Timon advocate for players in a way that you will never know. There are so many poor decisions diverted because of their care and knowledge, and good decisions amplified. While the timing on this nomination couldn't be more ironic, I will shout it until the day I die. The group I got to work with is some of the best in the business. If Destiny wins, I celebrate them, the people, the player support team. They are legends. So,
man, I still feel really bad for all those people, man.
I do too. I really wanted to highlight that specific comment from her because I saw a lot of people talking about it. We actually had a question tonight about this from Titan, who wrote in on the Discord. He, I guess he amended his question here, but he wanted to know our thoughts on who was going to win. And at one point, maybe it was in another thread I was thinking of. He was like, I got to know y'all's opinions on this, and we'll talk about it on Tower Casuals also. But we would be bad hosts if we didn't address it here too.
Yeah.
That's a fucking shame. There are few teams that are allowed to interact with players the way that Destiny 2 community team did, the way that Baldur's Gate's community team has talked to people, Final Fantasies, No Man's Sky, like they
Yeah.
are worthy winners.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's the thing to remember. We can sit here and we can disagree all day long, and we can, I mean, rightfully hold Bungie's feet to the fire to the best of our abilities, you know, as players. But it's important to remember that when they win, no matter who accepts this award, this is an award that doesn't happen without Liana, without Sam, without Griffin, you know, without countless other people in community and in player support who got laid off.
Yeah.
That's the story of the Game Awards this year is, yes, this is an amazing year for the actual art, but it is the worst year ever as an employee with all the layoffs. Just before we started recording, Amazon laid off 200 people.
Yeah, I know. I saw that earlier.
200
today.
more.
Yeah.
200 more. Like, what the
over
fuck?
Over the 180 that they did earlier?
Yep. No, the 180. The 180. Okay. I rounded up. 180 people laid off today at Amazon Games.
Well, I mean, they're not really making games, so but
Amazon Games also encompasses Twitch and other things. Like,
yeah,
they axed an entire channel that they had that they were running on Twitch.
Yeah,
that they had full-time people working and producing content on. All those people are now laid off. Absolutely insane shit. And if I really hope that this stuff gets brought up on stage and that Keighley doesn't like move to like quiet people. Because we do know that this is an event sponsored by a lot of big publishers.
Yeah. I hope whoever accepts it is like acknowledges the people that aren't there if they win.
Yeah. And I mean, somebody pointed this out, the last time that they won the community award was in 2019, and Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy were there to accept it. Damage and Liana have both said in the past, even though they were nominated, they were never invited to go to the Game Awards to represent the studio. That other people from the studio went. So that's really frustrating to hear. And they were basically told, don't celebrate too much about it. Like, about your team winning. Like, this is a studio effort and shit like that. So I hope that whoever gets it, like, says, fuck the suits.
Yeah.
If they win. And let's be honest, Destiny is not winning this. Let's be completely honest.
No, I think it's going to be the Baldur's Gate team, to be honest. Just because they had so much input during early access.
I honestly think it's going to be No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but then they win.
Final Fantasy's won it a lot of the last couple of years, so I think it's time for somebody else. No Man's Sky, though, that is still a small team that is doing this, and they are Johnny on the spot.
The fact that they keep putting out free content for that game, is there any microtransactions in that game?
I don't believe so.
Oh my gosh. I wonder how are they even making money now? I mean, I know people are still buying the game, but like most of their income.
I suspect the Game Pass deal that they have.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what else.
I forgot that game was on Game Pass.
I've got a couple more for us.
Let's do it.
Best independent game. This one caused a lot of controversy today too. Cocoon, Dredge, Sea of Stars, Viewfinder, and Dave the Diver. Dave the Diver is the specific one in question because the studio that made it is owned by a large publisher, Nexom. And it raised the question of what qualifies as indie and what doesn't. Because by definition, Dave the Diver should not be on here, but Baldur's Gate 3 should be because Larian is completely independent.
They published it too, right?
Yep, their exact description here is for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. So that also would mean that, like, Capcom, because Capcom's internal team made Resident Evil 4, they technically could be up for this. The definition here is really, really bad. And it raised questions like, oh, well, do things like Hi-Fi Rush count? No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Dave the Diver should not be on this list.
Yeah.
It should not be on this list. I don't think it's worth getting like super angry about, but it should not be on this list. But I also think like at a certain point, well, if you're going to say that like no game that has a publisher should be on this list, then you need to create a different category for like best non-AAA game and then best independent, because by that definition, we shouldn't be allowing Cocoon on here.
Yeah.
Dredge shouldn't be allowed on here because those are published by Annapurna and Team 17.
Yeah.
And that Viewfinder is made by Thunderful. That shouldn't be on here.
Yeah.
Like, there comes a point where I think we get into too much of the minutia, but also like this needs to be more clear. So I think like breaking that up is going to have to be something they have to address in the next year or two because it's raising too many questions now.
Yeah.
But like best non-AAA, that's a category I could get behind. But then that brings up another question, like, well, what's AAA? Like, is it according to budget? It would almost certainly have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the cutoff there? 5 million, 10 million? Like, what's the cutoff?
Right.
And I had one other one I wanted to bring up. Was it the RPG one was really funny. That's Baldur's Gate, Starfield, Final Fantasy, Lies of P, and Sea of Stars. Lies of P, we were all like, that's not an RPG, but okay. That should be an action adventure, frankly.
Isn't it? I mean, isn't it an action RPG? Can't you like level up and stuff in there? Theoretically.
I mean, it's a Soulsborne.
Yeah. I would call those action RPGs. I
would swap it in Jedi Survivor, probably. There was one other one I was going to bring up, and I don't remember where it is. Sim Strategy is really funny. Advance Wars, Pikmin, Fire Emblem Engage, Company of Heroes, and City Skyline. City Skyline, which infamously got like a 6 across the board when it released.
Yeah.
Best family game, that's the Nintendo category.
Yeah. What's in it this year? Hold on.
Disney Illusion Island, Party Animals, Pikmin 4, Sonic Superstars, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It's Mario Wonder's category. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
These smaller categories are the ones that like, oh yeah, if we know something's not going to win Game of the Year, then we're going to give it here.
Yeah.
Except for RPG, 100% should be Baldur's Gate, even if Baldur's Gate wins Game of the Year. Like, that's how good it is. I like Starfield, but I mean, even Phantom Liberty. Where's Phantom Liberty for RPG? Why is Lies of P here over Phantom Liberty?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my lord!
What's under best action game? Let's see: Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant. That seems like Remnant's category. I would say.
Man, I think this is probably going to be Armored Core. The critics love FromSoft. I don't think Remnant got enough like praise.
Oh, really? I thought I got a lot. I still hear people talking about Remnant.
I think in our circle we heard a lot because a lot of Destiny players shifted to it. I saw almost no mainstream talk about this game.
Oh.
It feels like it fell off, but it's got a new DLC coming out tomorrow, or at least the DLC is being revealed, so maybe that could be a push. I really think this comes down to Armored Core or Hi-Fi Rush, frankly. They could decide Hi-Fi deserves something. It got 5 nominations today, which shout out to them.
Yeah.
That is awesome for them.
Yeah.
And the last one I want us to all laugh together at most anticipated game. The 5 nominees are Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, Tekken 8, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Sure.
I don't know how this was decided, but okay.
Where's that?
Congratulations, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, on taking home a reward before you're even out.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm voting Hades 2 here, but
yeah. When you said that and then you said it Hades 2 first, I'm like, isn't that pretty anticipated? But then like, yeah, I mean, yeah, Final Fantasy VII, I'm sure is super. Yeah.
I mean,
this is a weird list.
It's going to be a Game of the Year frontrunner until we have something else. So
yeah, this is a weird list, man. This is a weird list. I see Hades 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth fighting for this. I don't know about these other ones. I mean, I'm super excited for Star Wars Outlaws, but how many people are excited?
I can't imagine that a Ubisoft game wins over those two, though.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
I mean, I'm excited for Outlaws too. Don't get me wrong. The last I said that was going to be the last one. Best ongoing game. This is a funny one too. I think Fortnite, Final Fantasy 14, Cyberpunk 2077, Apex Legends, Genshin Impact.
Okay.
I feel
I don't think Phantom Liberty should be in that.
so. The only I was thinking about this on my way home today, and the only way I rationalize that Cyberpunk is on there is because of the massive 2.0 update, because it basically changed the whole game.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can justify that. I think it's really silly that it's here, but it also is probably my pick. Honestly, this is probably my pick in this category. Like, if nothing else, because the 2.0 update is legitimately incredible.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think there's any other ones that like we really need to go over right now. Like, we'll go through the winners in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't think that neither Corey or I are excited to talk about esports or like best fighting game.
I told you I wanted to talk about best esports coach.
God, dude.
Let's see who the nominees are, Josh.
Jesus.
Christine Potter Chi.
I don't know who these people are.
Danny Zonic Sorensen. Jordan Gunba Graham. Remy XTQZZZ Quanium. And Yoon Homie Sungyoung. There you go. There are your nominees.
The best adaptations category. This is probably the best it's ever been.
Josh didn't like my esports coach of the year.
I did not. I ignored it. This is probably the best adaptation category has ever been in all reality, though.
Yeah.
Castlevania Nocturne. We started that the other night. Very excited for my boy Richter. Twisted Metal. The Super Mario Brothers movie. Gran Turismo and The Last of Us. I mean, it's The Last of Us.
Yeah,
obviously.
this is The Last of Us lock.
This is pretty cut and dry. But
yeah,
the Mario movie made a valiant effort here.
Twisted Metal would be my pick. That show was awesome. I loved it.
I will be honest. I watched the Mario movie. I watched about half of The Last of Us. It's The Last of Us for me.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was trying to run back through and see like who won this last year. Arcane won it last year.
Yeah. For
which Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is just like screaming in the corner because it had to go up against Arcane and Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Well,
and Edge Runners is so fucking good. I've watched that all the way through like 4 times. If you want a taste of what most anticipated game was this time last year, compare it to this list, okay? So we have our crappy list this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year was The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which won. Final Fantasy 16, Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4, and Starfield.
Last year's list is so much better.
How was Resident Evil 4 on this list last year? How was that a most anticipated game?
A lot of people like Resident Evil 4, man.
I understand that. I was there when it won Game of the Year in 2005. I remember this. I was a little prepubescent teenager who was very excited to have an M-rated game. Golly. I was 12 when this game came out, Corey. I was 12. I've been hearing about how it's a classic for almost 20 years. I'm done. I'm done.
That's fair.
I'm done. Pull the plug.
I think it was a junior in high school when this game came out. Maybe a senior in high school.
I also know that I'm getting old when I look at Content Creator of the Year and I don't know a single goddamn person on the list.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm scared to look at this list.
Excuse me, I know People Make Games. That is who should win. If anyone else wins this category, this is because they don't want them to get up there on stage and talk about that. People Make Games has been very instrumental in talking about the layoffs and in studio controversies the last couple of years. They're an awesome voice on YouTube. I will say that.
Iron Mouse?
No idea.
Quackity?
No. I don't know who these people are.
Spreen? What's that even mean?
Will we get Al Pacino to present an award this year?
Can you get after every time he announces one of the contestants? Can you say "hoo-ha"?
I just hope that he does nothing but quote heat all night. She's got a great ass. I just hope he does it all night. All night. All right, Corey.
Good times. Oh wait, we're still doing a show. Let's move on to the next story, I guess.
Yeah, we should move on to the next show. Also, something the Game Awards came under fire for promoting.
Yeah. Xbox has signed a new deal with InWorld, which is an AI company to assist and empower developers. Um, so this is interesting. This is an interesting move. I I don't know how to feel about this because there is a way you could use AI methodically and smartly to do this, but also at the end of the day, we know how AI stories tend to go,
Yeah,
especially
I hate this.
with what the finals having their announcers use AI generated voice, right? That was the controversy the last couple weeks or so.
Yeah, because it was a mixture of AI and real voices. Like they said they used like learning from actual voice actors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a pretty big problem with this partnership. I'm gonna be honest. Because specifically the tools that they're getting from InWorld are supposed to help with dialogue and narrative development, and I hate that. That we just went through a Writers Guild strike. There is a looming voice actor strike coming for the video game industry in 2024. Um, this is really tone deaf to me. This is exactly what everybody is afraid of. And it's Xbox doing this, who now owns not only their own studios, they own narrative studios like Obsidian.
Uh-huh.
They own studios like Ninja Theory, Blizzard, Bethesda, Arcane, id,
Yeah.
Machine Games, Double Fine, In Exile. Like, I am absolutely terrified of this if I work at any of those Xbox studios. Everybody should be denouncing this shit. I think the only way in which something like this works is if you have a game that is so fucking massive, like what Starfield was promised to be,
Uh-huh.
and it just procedurally generates never-ending quest lines. That is the only way I could ever find this being acceptable. But even then, I'd still prefer a person to like write the script and stuff. This feels really tone deaf. This is purely a cost-cutting measure, is what they're trying to do here. But as we've seen, like if enough people in the industry and outside the industry speak up against this, it's going to get dropped. This really feels like this is a decision that was probably forced on Xbox from up above.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know Microsoft has been a real big proponent of things like Bing machine learning
Uh-huh.
and of ChatGPT.
Uh-huh. Well, they
And
bought OpenAI too.
God,
I'm
I
shocked they aren't using
really,
that.
I think Phil is fighting the good fight as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, and I wonder if they do, like, obviously this is a deal, but I wonder if they'll just say, "Hey, if you want to use it, you can, but don't feel pressured to use it," type of thing.
I don't know anybody who would actually touch this, because that endangers your job as a narrative designer if you use this.
Yeah.
You know, like what's it going to be in a couple of years? First name bunch of numbers is going to be wheeled up there as a laptop to accept the award for best narrative at the Game Awards. I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. So,
I just got a really funny image of my work laptop, which is code, and like all of our work laptops have code names, and mine is Tattoo.
oh my
And I
god,
just have this funny thing of it going.
tattoo getting wheeled up there.
Yeah.
God,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, this is
yeah.
this is I mean, so like if you're a narrative designer and you have like, writer's block or something, you just type ideas in here, maybe it spits out some new ideas that you can maybe use, but like I don't want this designing like entire quest lines or dialogue choices or
No,
like I don't know, man. I I don't hmm, this is going to sound bad, but stick with me. I don't have a problem with AI to really assist people if it's the people who need help and they want to use it, right? But I don't like it if this AI is going to design entire stories for games or side quests or I mean Ubisoft was use some AI technology for generated like side quests in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla.
well, it explains a lot about the quality of Valhalla, personally.
Yeah. So,
Um,
I mean, it's it's not like it hasn't existed, but just the prevalence of AI, especially like where I work, we're like deep in AI right
Yeah.
now, and like it's I mean, we used to do a podcast called Utilizing AI, so
I mean, I
you know,
think that it comes with its own risks, like any technology, right?
yeah,
And I think that we've shown that we can't be trusted to not misuse this in creative spaces. I mean, look at the people who make AI art who want to argue that they work as hard as a real artist, right?
right,
Like, no, you didn't. You typed a bunch of very specific words into a Bing generator and then you got something. Like, you absolutely should not be credited as an artist for this. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to see AI designing things. Like, I don't mind if you want to use, like, I actually think that AI can be used in some very limited, very creative situations. The finals actually, I think, has the right idea,
mm-hmm,
because I think that if you have a procedural AI commentating
mm-hmm,
on a game very specific like the finals, I think that's really, really rad.
mm-hmm,
I think it could be really cool in something like Rocket League.
yeah,
Bear with me here. Not when it's being played as an esport, it absolutely should not be utilized. But in like regular friendly matches, I think that could be really, really cool
yeah,
to
especially
have
because like you could
have
write,
it commentating on your play style.
yeah, especially because like with especially like generative AI as it learns the game, right? Or if you
Mm-hmm.
feed it the game to learn all the mechanics and you know what people are doing and stuff, you could have some pretty cool outcomes in terms of commentating on these matches. Uh, but
Yeah.
I don't want it to like if your character is like talking or something, that's where it
No,
gets
there are so few instances where this is okay that I'd rather just not use it at all,
yeah,
because you know somebody's going to misuse it.
yeah,
And in a time where creatives are being laid off at record levels in the industry, to make this announcement and this partnership feels really tone deaf,
hmm,
and really fucked up. It would be fucked up no matter what. It's getting extra attention and extra fuckery because of everything that's gone on this year.
yeah,
So,
yep. Well, Josh, we should get into
well, Corey,
this DLC real quick.
let's do it.
So, all right. So, a couple weeks ago, at this point, Xbox is starting to block unapproved third-party controllers, uh, and will look into approving more over time. They are going to start adding third-party controllers to their what is it, produced for Xbox program or approved by
Yeah,
Xbox
they're going to
program or
make them
something.
like certified.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I understand the idea of this. Right now, it looks bad, but I think over time, you know, as these things get approved and it has like an official Xbox seal on it, right? I think that's going to be, I think it's actually going to improve everything overall. Uh, I don't know. What do you think
Yeah,
about this?
I understand the immediate knee jerk reaction here, and I do understand there have been some very real concerns.
Fight sticks in
Um,
particular, actually.
Fight sticks and accessibility gamepads.
Hmm,
A lot of both of those are third party and are not actually approved
hmm,
officially by Xbox. And in terms of adaptive controllers, you may say like, well, you know, you can get the Xbox adaptive one for like 150 bucks. The reality is a lot of the adaptive stuff is actually like custom made.
hmm. Especially for
And
like paraplegics who have to play with like
yes,
their chins and their
it
mouths.
or is much cheaper
Yeah.
than what Xbox wants you to pay first party prices. I know Maximilian Dude has brought up the fight sticks in the community. A lot of those are third party. They have said anything that has a direct USB input will not be affected by this. It's
Hmm,
the wireless stuff.
yeah.
Um, and that they're going to approve more over time, and like, so that's good. But I do think it's worrying for from an accessibility standpoint. Fight sticks like those are going to get approved. Let's be honest, that's going to get approved. You should not worry. They have a first party fighting game, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
My concern is definitely the accessibility community, because I think that that's going to get a lot less attention, because like, oh, well, do we have to certify each of these individually, each of these custom controllers? I think that's where this becomes an issue.
Hmm,
And also, like, just being wired is not an option for so many people.
hmm,
So I really hope that they take a step back and look at the reaction to this they've had the last couple of weeks, and kind of modify how this problem is going to work when it comes to accessibility devices.
yeah.
Because we've also heard that like plug and play cheats like aren't gonna, like Cronus and stuff aren't gonna be affected by this because they plug in via USB.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna allow that, you can allow accessibility. Just saying.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actual dumpster fire of the week.
Which, yeah, uh, I feel like there's already been so many dumpster fires in my world that I don't know
Well,
what.
this is the one where
Yeah,
kerosene is being dumped currently.
yeah. Modern Warfare 3's campaign seems like a disaster in more ways than just the campaign. The crunch time on this, originally it
It's
being DLC,
so bad.
16 months to, and nights and weekends throughout like almost an entire year.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
The story goes like we reported this last year that originally this was supposed to be a DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And then basically Bobby Kotick and the Activision board went to them last summer and said, no, 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 this is going to be a full price title. This game is so rough, Corey. Almost all of the team deathmatch maps, for example, like the normal 6v6, are Modern Warfare 2 maps, just redone.
Mm-hmm.
The OG Modern Warfare 2, mind you. So, like,
Yeah.
they had Modern Warfare 2 remastered multiplayer ready to go and canceled it. They never released it. Those maps are now being used here. I don't think we played one map that was original last night, and Ray and I played for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
The campaign is so hastily thrown together that they lift entire chunks of the map from the original Warzone map to use as levels. They do what they call open combat zones, which means you have to run around the map doing different objectives. It's really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun at all. The narrative makes no sense whatsoever. I've played about half of it, and I will not be finished. It's the first time I've ever said I won't finish a Call of Duty campaign. I have like no desire to finish this. It's a shame that this has the Modern Warfare name, because the Modern Warfare trilogy actually used to have a really good name. For good reasons. Like, the original Modern Warfare campaign is one of the best FPS campaigns of all time.
Mm-hmm.
The Call of Duty 2 campaign is incredible. Modern Warfare 2, little campy. It plays like a Michael Bay movie. Still really, really good. I think a lot of us have really fond memories of it and the multiplayer. Three's pretty rough. This makes the original Modern Warfare 3's campaign look like a fucking Martin Scorsese film.
Jesus Christ.
Corey, this is so bad. I don't know what's going on. I played 2, and I can't tell you what's going on in this game. Part of it's because I didn't play the first one, the reboot.
Yeah.
But which I heard was actually good.
Yeah, I heard it was really good, actually.
But last year's campaign was not good. This makes last year's campaign look pretty good.
Oh my gosh. I remember
I'm really, really bummed out by how bad it is. Like I said earlier, my game stuttered so bad last night, it was moving at like 15 frames a second. It was real bad. It's the worst frame drop I've experienced of any game on current gen.
Neat.
It genuinely performed worse than Cyberpunk did at launch.
Yikes.
That's not an exaggeration. I'm dead ass serious.
That's gross.
It's not good. It's really frustrating. When it works, it's still kind of fun. I haven't gotten a chance to try zombies yet. I've heard zombies is like the one thing that everyone agrees is good. It's the first time that there's been zombies in a non-Treyarch game, though. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like they went to Treyarch and said, hey, give us your zombies mode for next year. Hopefully it's ready to go. And it makes me think that zombies will be a standalone thing at some point now that things go through the Call of Duty launcher.
Yeah.
I feel like zombies may be something that just gets an update every couple of months as an ongoing title.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Warzone will just become the multiplayer suite and then the campaigns will be added.
Oh, God, I hope not.
The
multiplayer is so different from anything in the Warzone suite, from Warzone, from DMZ, from Extraction. Like, it's so different from anything in there.
Yeah, I mean, if it's all in the same launcher, though, like, you can have all.
Yeah, but I would also say that, like, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, and Treyarch all have different approaches to multiplayer.
Yeah,
like Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward are pretty close to being the same, but I mean, also, I think that fucks with your ability to do different eras also. Mm-hmm. Because like next year's is rumored to be Black Ops Gulf War. Like, so what are you going to do? Take away all my Modern Warfare shit just to force me to play in the 90s? Like, that's not very cash money.
Can't wait to experience the 90s war.
Oh my God, dude. It's going to be so bad. I really hope that we're headed for a break with this franchise.
I mean, I almost wonder if when Microsoft takes over the franchise, I almost wonder if they'll go like every other year Call of Duty and every other year like a Doom or a Wolfenstein or a Halo or
I kind of feel like that's what it's going to have to be, just so that they don't get completely run over.
yeah.
Because next year we're getting Call of Duty next year. There's no getting around that. Also, Treyarch will have had 4 years to make this game,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Sledgehammer got 16 months. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
That's real fucked up. And this is after they were publicly assured by Bobby Kotick that they would get, because they made Vanguard in 2 years.
Yeah. I don't believe
This is
anything that guy says though.
No, this is after they were publicly promised they would get a full dev cycle for their next game. They wanted to make Advanced Warfare 2. It also came out,
Mm-hmm.
and they were told no, which would have 100% helped the esports scene of this game.
Yeah.
So that's a problem that you've got. But like, if you go to every other year, say you release in 24,
Mm-hmm.
you get the next Infinity Ward game in 26, and then you get Treyarch again in 28.
Mm-hmm.
You're on 4-year dev cycles.
And let Sledgehammer work on something else.
Let Sledgehammer work on something else. Like, they're clearly not being respected over there.
No.
So let them work on let their creatives do other things. If they still want to work on Call of Duty, move them to other studios. If not, just let them rebuild the studio the way they want to.
Right.
I see nothing wrong with this.
And I almost think they will, right? I mean, I think that seems to be some sort of direction they could go. So I don't know, man. It sucks. I hate seeing this kind of stuff. I mean,
it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's not cool. It's not fun. There's nothing good going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, let's end on
Corey,
end on a high note here.
Let's do it.
The GTA 6 reveal is imminent. According to it was first reported by Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, and then Rockstar confirmed it in a tweet that early December they will be revealing Grand Theft Auto 6. I wonder, you think it's going to be a Game Awards thing, or you think they're just going to drop a trailer and be like, here it is?
Rockstar is one of the few companies in the world I think that could just come out. They could just come out and drop a logo with a release date, and it would be the best-selling game of all time.
I mean, that they kind of did that with GTA 5. They just released some screenshots on social media and were like,
I think that they are really worried about having another Red Dead Redemption 2 situation where they announce that they do this big blowout and then they have to delay it by a year.
Yeah.
I think they're really afraid of doing that again.
Yeah.
I really think that when we see it, we're getting a release date. And I truly think it's next September. I think it's August or September of next year. It's going to break every record in the book. It's going to be... This is where Elon Musk's Twitter finally breaks. It's not going to be... Twitter will not be able to handle the traffic when this trailer comes out. There was some speculation that I think it was Kind of Funny's XCast. Paris was predicting that it's going to be shown at the NBA in-season tournament, and I'll give you 2 words as to why that's not going to happen, and that's Ja Morant. I do not think the NBA will allow this to be promoted and debuted during the in-season tournament. They are trying to be a family-friendly league right now. They are having an issue, with players like Ja, young players who are impressionable and that these kids want to emulate, who are going around trying to play gangster. And promoting GTA is not going to help the case.
This seems like a NFL Sunday night or Monday night announcement if you're going to do that.
I don't think it's going to be a part of any sports league, to be frank with you. I think that it either Rockstar announces it on their own or it's on Keeley's stage. And I don't think that it's going to be on Keeley's because it would overshadow everything else at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I truly think that Rockstar is just going to drop the trailer.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. I don't know. Like, no matter where it shows up, we're going to sit here. We're going to scrutinize the media reveal of this no matter what. Just a matter of weeks until we find out if we're actually going back to Vice City or not.
Yeah.
That's long been the rumors that we're going to Vice City. Just God, anything but San Andreas at this point.
Yeah, I would say
we've had enough San Andreas.
I would say Vice City is the safe bet, especially according to those leaks who kind of like, potentially playing as a Latino woman. Vice City seems like a easy bet for this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be cool. I like GTA as a series. I'm more curious to see what the next evolution of Grand Theft Auto Online looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's going to probably be a standalone product going forward, so that they're not beholden to what's going on in this current game, and they can kind of work on that and update it whenever they feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, GTA 6 is going to shatter like every record because 5 is approaching 200 million copies sold, which is insane to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one game ever has reached that, and that's Minecraft.
Yep.
And Minecraft is $20. So look at how many people are still paying full price or damn near full price for GTA every single quarter.
Yeah.
It is insane. It's absolutely mystifying. That and Mario Kart 8, I'll never understand why they keep selling.
Oh, Mario Kart 8's great though.
I
And it's only
cannot
sold like
tell
a
you.
quarter of what GTA 5 is sold.
It has an attachment rate on the Switch of 1 to 2. That is like more than any first party game in history.
Yeah. And you have to include the 8.5 million that sold on the Wii U too.
I'm so fucking tired of Mario Kart 8. I was tired of it a year after it came out. We're clearly just milking the corpse at this point. Just hurry up and stop buying this so I can get number 9.
No, buy it all.
Nintendo guys, I hate you all. Y'all are awful. Corey, tell me what's coming to Game Pass this week.
Not Mario Kart 8. All right. So on 11/7, you're going to get Dungeons 4, which is kind of like a
Last week.
life sim city builder thing. Yeah. Oh yeah. All these are from like last week too. I forgot today was the 13th. It's been a day. It's been a month. Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name came on to Game Pass 11/9. Wild Hearts via EA Play is also available now. Available today, the 13th, is Spirit Tea. Coral Island comes out on 11/14, and on 11/17, Persona 5 Tactica.
Yeah. I'm very excited for this. I already have it pre-installed.
I don't doubt it. It would surprise me if you didn't have it.
This is why Alan Wake is waiting until next week. It's so I can play Persona 5 Tactica first.
All 9,000 hours in a weekend.
I actually think this will be significantly shorter than regular Persona 5 is.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
So I'll be very happy. If this clocks in at under 30 hours, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah.
But we also have a couple of games leaving Game Pass. Most of these don't bother me. Football Manager 2023, Gungrave Gore, Exapunks, Ghost Song, Lapin, Town Scraper. Coffee Talk is leaving though. Coffee Talk's fucking great. You can bang that out in like 3 hours.
Well, that leaves what on the 15th? So that's what, Wednesday, I guess.
Oh, by the time you're listening to this, it's gone. It's basically gone by the time you're listening to this, but it's like a $15 game. Pick it up. They gave it away on Games with Gold a couple years ago. It's a really charming little like comfort game. I love this, and the sequel is really weird. I don't think I like the sequel nearly as much, but they're really cool games. Really nice narrative, really cool, gameplay mechanic. I enjoy it. This is what when I think of like my ideal like cozy indie game, this is it.
It's fun. Play it.
It's fun. It's good. It's good, and it's legitimately got a great story.
Yeah. Do it.
We have one other question tonight.
Oh boy, we have a question.
Yes, Titan asked us to talk about Game of the Year.
Oh.
But Tiger Jesus writes in and asks, what is the hardest achievement you guys have unlocked?
Seriously, 1.0 for Gears 1.
For me, it's got to be the Halo 3 ODST Vidmaster, where you have to do the last level on Legendary, and you have to do it all without dying. And I believe it's in Ghosts. The ODST Vidmaster achievement. That is hands down the worst thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Wow. Good job, Josh. Proud of you.
That it was rough. It was rough. We did it like all night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking up exactly which one it is, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Deja Vu Complete Coastal Highway on 4-player legendary Xbox Live co-op with the Iron Skull on and no Warthog or Scorpion used. That one was rough.
But you got your flaming ninja helmet.
Man, it's so fucking rough. It's so bad.
Now you just get
and
it.
And then the other one was finish any campaign level on legendary solo without shooting or throwing a grenade. Sliding and honking the horn on vehicles count as shooting and grenade throwing. Yeah, those were really, really rough. The Halo 3 ones were significantly easier. complete the mission Halo on 4-player legendary co-op with Iron and everyone in Ghosts. That took us a couple tries, but it only took us like an hour or two to nail it. It is getting to the Ghosts was harder than actually doing the Ghosts.
That makes sense.
Because you have to fight your way up the tower. You have to fight Guilty Spark, then you have to fight your way out of the tower into the Ghosts. But yeah, no, the Vidmaster challenges, they don't even give you like any gamer score.
Yeah, they're all worth
absolutely zero. The worst. Yeah,
but the reward was the armor, right? I mean, that was...
It was, but still, it's so bad. It's so rough. I absolutely hate it.
You loved every minute of it, Josh.
I did not. We were trying really hard to get Deja Vu done. I remember falling asleep, waking up, and they were still doing it.
Wow.
But I came in refreshed and did it. So
nice.
It's rough. That is hands down my hardest.
Well, Josh.
Well, Corey.
I think it's time to get out of here.
I think it is too.
I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Xbox Casuals. You can check out our sister show, Tower Casuals, every Friday. You can see this show every other Tuesday on your podcast service of choice and on YouTube. Josh, thank you for your time tonight. As always, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Josh_Finn. Two N's, people.
Two of them.
Count them.
You can find me at I am Corey HD on social media. You can join the Tower Casuals Discord. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate, because we won't be recording next week.
Yeah.
And all that. Eat some turkey, eat some food. Enjoy good times. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye, everybody.